These my dollars make it hurt.
Welcome back to a Week 15 lineup edition of the Deep Cover Podcast. I'm your host, Kerry Stevenson. As always, shout out to my guys, my co-hosts, Mike Crawford, Chris Aguilera. For all the new listeners, do us a huge favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel. That'll keep you up on all the great content we're trying to bring to the table. But we're gonna go ahead and jump into this lineup. But first, we're gonna look back at last week. Fortunately, man, last week was over before it started. Lamar Jackson left with an ankle injury, pretty much buried this lineup before we even got started. Just tragic, in the words of Mr. Omar. Um, got the wrong Jets receiver, the wrong cheap Jets receiver. Went with Keenan. I'm sorry, not Keenan. Keelan Cole, just because I was more sure of his playing time, him and Jamison Crowder. But Braxton Berrios is usually the guy that kind of gobbles up targets when he gets significant playing time. Just wasn't sure how they were going to go about that, but they wound up going with him as the slot guy, and he got a fair amount of snaps, so he got a fair amount of targets. 10 targets, 6 catches for 52 yards at 3K. Played Keelan Cole at 3,100. He turned 6 targets into 1 catch and 27 yards. So it's the small things. Try to look at stuff on uh, small level too, because a lot of that stuff makes a difference. If this was a lineup where Lamar Jackson did play, and some of the things transpired the way they did, those kind of micro things are huge. Um, rest of the lineup, Eckler left with an injury. Scored 16 points. In that Raiders game, I played Josh Jacobs. The Raiders decided they wanted to come out and wanted to put their feet on the Chiefs logo before the game, and the Chiefs decided to put their foot somewhere else for the rest of the game. That went pretty much as you would expect it to go in a game like that. Negative game script was the only reason Jacobs got there with 5 catches. He ended up with 11 points. Mark Andrews went off for 31 and a half points. Huge game, 11 catches, over 100 yards. Donovan Peoples-Jones, solid run back, 5 catches, 90 yards, 14 points for him. Mike Evans went 6 for 91 in the TD. But again, Lamar went down. That killed us. 115 for the total. Maybe things break a little bit differently if Lamar is out there, but he wasn't. So I really haven't gotten sniped that much by injury that I can think of with this lineup. So I can live with that if we're week 15. It's my first time really having to complain about it. So we're just gonna move on, man, and move on to the chaos that is Week 15 with all these COVID situations and games being moved. It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be challenging, but just embrace it. There are a lot worse things going on for a lot of people to do too much complaining about this. So just look at it as a challenge and try to push forward. So. Looking at this new abbreviated 9-game slate, it was tough to really find a lot of spots to get excited about at quarterback. Everybody's going to probably be on Kyler at the high end, and then everybody's probably going to be on Tua at that lower end. Um, as far as guys that quarterback plays that people are going to gravitate to. So I'm going to look at a guy this week, potential bounce back spot here, and that's Dak Prescott. They have a healthy team total. Giants struggle to rush the passer. And even though I don't like the fact that Tyron Smith is out, I do like the fact that all of their pass game weapons are back now and healthy. So that's going to be huge. I love the fact that both of these teams play fast. Both of them are top 8 in neutral pace. Love that. Love that for the upside of this play. And then also the health situation of the running backs. They could keep them out of kind of traditional clock killing kind of mode when you have um, Zeke obviously not 100%. Tony Pollard, we don't know if he's going to play or not. I don't think they're going to be giving a bunch of carries to Corey Clement when it gets late. Um, so uh, all those things bode well for Dak, I think. So I like plugging him in here. So let's get down to that game and plug Dak in at quarterback. Obviously I'm going to stack them, and I've talked about um, some of the weapons there. Um, CD Lamb, obviously. I saw CD Lamb line up in the backfield, and he got a rushing attempt with Zeke as a lead blocker last week. So that speaks to what they think of him and how they want to get him the ball. Just an insane talent. He's gonna have double digit touch opportunity pretty much every week, and I think at his price, I still think that's a tad bit too low. I think he should probably be more in that 8K kind of range. So like going CD Lamb there. Um, Gonna double stack it. A lot of people try to kind of choose between Lamb and Cooper. I see a lot of decisions like that be made on the slates on previous slates. Cooper as a guy that people are using as a pivot. But I say, and why not use them both? That's what I'm going to do in this lineup. I'm going to go ahead and use them both. I'm going to bet on the scenario where Dallas jumps out to a lead through the air, and Cooper is a guy that's going to stay very much involved. I just talked about Lamb and his opportunity. Um, Cooper is going to stay just as much as involved as CD Lamb is for the most part. He's a guy that I like that he can do things in various ways. He'll line up in the slot some. He can get downfield at times. Um, he can get it off volume. So I like Cooper here. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug Cooper in as that double stack, and I'm gonna try to run this back here with the Giants, and I'm gonna use the script that I'm kind of building, and I'm gonna go more of a floor play than a ceiling play here. Um, with Mike Glennon at quarterback and with this wide receiver situation, I don't really feel comfortable making any big bets on these wide receivers. So it's not going to be a wide receiver here for the run back. But I will take a shot on some volume at 3,100. And so I'm going to play Evan Ingram here. I think people will who watched the game last week, that big catch and run that Kyle Rudolph had last week. He was out there looking like Jeremy Shockey. I think that's probably going to stand out in people's mind, and people going to look at the box score and see that Evan Ingram didn't do very much. And you know how people think, they're going to look at that, get hung up on the draft capital and the narratives and all that, and they're going to say, "Hey, it's same old Evan Ingram," and I'm going to use that to my advantage in this scenario and plug him in at 3,100. Um, Pretty much ever since I can't, the name is escaping me. The offensive coordinator there. I'll come back to it. I'll think of it. The Clapper is a nickname he has. But pretty much ever since he's been out, Evan Ingram has been running way ahead of Rudolph. It may even have been before that. And that continued last week. He's a guy that's going to be playing 70+% of the snaps. And in a game where I'm projecting Dallas to jump out ahead in this game, I like the chances of Evan Ingram getting that 8 to 10 target kind of game. And at 3,100, I think we can get a usable game out of Ingram. Maybe a 5 for 50 type game on a cheap, and then hopefully we can get him in the end zone. So plugging him in at 3,100 there. And so now we're gonna move along to running back. Running back, it's going to be a lot of pay down options this week. Specifically, a guy like James Robinson is going to be popular. So one way I'm going to try to set myself apart this week is I'm going to try to pay up a little bit, and I'm going to do that first with Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon had kind of a blah game last week. Samadre P. Ryan was a little bit more involved than what we would like. But this is a Bengals team that is motivated to play through the running game. And so Mixon is going to get plenty of opportunities. He's going to get a handful of targets in the passing game at the very least. We've seen games where he's gotten more, but I like the floor of a few targets that he can bring to the table. And when you look at this game, the Broncos have a middle of the pack run defense. They're not going to stack the box. So, they're one of those two high teams, play that shell coverage. And then on the other side, the Broncos want to run the ball, but the Bengals have a sturdy front line, and they have a top 10 run defense. So I like Mixon's chances here of being able to get some volume, put together a strong game. So I'm going to plug in Joe Mixon, that first running back spot. For the second running back spot, I'm going with James Conner. Chase Edmonds is slated to come back this week, and I think that's going to make people less motivated to play Connor. But to me, I really like Connor this week. The matchup is great. We've seen how opposing RBs have beaten up on the Lions. Cardinals are a big favorite, which should leave to ample goal line opportunities for Connor, clock killing opportunities for Connor. No DeAndre Hopkins there for the Cardinals should mean less uh, those end zone fades. I mean, they'll run them to AJ Green, but when you take a guy like D Hop that's so apt in the red zone to come down with the ball, that obviously helps Connor's chances as well. And another kind of added layer of upside I like with this is we're treating this running back situation as if it's 100% going to go like it did before Chase Edmonds got hurt. But what if it doesn't? You look at these games Connor played without Edmonds, and he showed himself very well. Especially as a pass catcher, 6, 7 catch games, one-handed catches, and he looked spry as a runner, and he looked spry after the catch. So who's to say that they just don't decide that they want that hammer element and he's not taking anything off of the table as a pass catcher? Who's to say that they just don't decide to make him the lead guy? So that's clearly on the table. So I like that added layer of upside. I think his floor as a goal line guy, as a guy that's going to be the clock killing back. Um, I think he'll get double digit carries either way you slice it. So even if Edmonds comes back to his regular role, I still like Connor as a multi TD upside kind of guy. So go ahead and plug Connor into this lineup at the other running back spot if I can find the game. There we go. So plug Connor in here, that second running back. I'm gonna stick with this game and do a little mini stack here. Um, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Since week 11, he's pretty much been flirting with every down status in that Lions offense. And now you got Hawkinson out, you got Swift out. I mean, they're running out of guys to throw the ball to. And I mean, it's clearly showing he had 24 targets in the last 2 weeks. Uh, and I expect that to continue. And if I'm gonna go out here and project James Conner to score 12 touchdowns, like I'm clearly doing, it's gonna mean a lot of targets on the other side for St. Brown. So like him, like that price, should get big time volume in this game. So I'm gonna plug him in at that last wide receiver spot. For the flex, I'm gonna attempt to play a little leverage game here. We all know that Urban Meyer got Usher up out the paint. He's out of the building in Jacksonville. Um, Daryl Bevel has, sweet talked us this week, and he's talked about James Robinson being the lead guy, and he's so at 5,400, and naturally he's going to be used a lot, and we're all going to play him. I'm going to be playing him a lot, but I'm not playing him in this lineup, so I'm going to look to kind of leverage that situation, and why not leverage it with the Jaguars' unquestioned number one wide receiver? I mean, I say that, but there's clear reasons as to why you shouldn't do this. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has one touchdown pass since Halloween, so that's a hell of a reason not to not to make this play. But I'm gonna go ahead and make it, and I'm gonna plug in Marvin Jones here at 4,600. Um, we just need this team to get back to competence, get back to functional. Um, Daryl Bevel has history with Marvin Jones, obviously. Marvin Jones is the number one guy here. We know how he wins. Daryl Bevel knows how he wins. He's got the target share. He's got the talent. Again, he's got the history with the play caller. Um, we just need them to get back to functional. And I'm just going to make a bet that they're able to do that. And at 4,600, that's not too much of a price for me to not be willing to take on a little bit of risk. So gonna go Marvin Jones there, 4,600. Uh, like that game as a whole. A lot of people are gonna play both sides of the defenses. Davis Mills, with that matchup with Jacksonville, should be a guy that should challenge to go over 300 yards again. So some interesting dynamics there at play in that game. Going Marvin Jones there. And I'm going to close it out with the defense that I think could fly under the radar a bit, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like them this week, and this is just basically um, pressure related. The Titans have really struggled to keep their quarterback upright, especially lately, and they are dealing with a lot of issues to their skill positions from a health standpoint, and they're a team uh, that doesn't have the depth. I'm sorry, to kind of withstand it. So pair of fives here. Uh, Titans O line, it has the highest, fifth highest adjusted sack rate. Steelers defensive line has the fifth highest adjusted sack rate. This is just slated to be a massive mismatch. And Steelers have struggled to stop the run a bit. And so, obviously, if the Titans can kind of hold the Steelers offense down, and if they can get the run game going, we could see this shift another way. But, I'm going to take my chances in this matchup and go that route, especially because I don't think a lot of people are going to be on this play. With the 3K price point, there's some defenses, like I said, Jacksonville, Houston, um, Denver at 2,900. So there's some options below 3,000 that I think will make people, venture down. Try to get a little bit different and venture up and pay for that 3K price point for the Steelers. So that's gonna close it out here, man. Again, thank you guys for checking this out. I'm sorry, lineup. Thanks for checking this out over the course of the season. And I'll be back next week with another lineup for you. As always, go out there and get you some bread.